Hello every folks, and welcome to a quick little build guide here. So, the Ranger has always been a bit of a weird class, essentially being a double attacker build with longbow and handgun options, but generally speaking has always been more like the assassin guy. Now, long story short, back attack is not exactly sneak attack, and, well, quite frankly, accuracy isn't just too much of a worry this time around. So what exactly can you do with Vyce to make him work? Now, basically, this has been a question that's been circling around for a little while here because his weapon selection is very weird. It always has been. I mean, it basically all fits the kinds of stuff that he does, but generally speaking, you know, his options are somewhat limited. So, as far as unique skills go, he's just got First Aid, which is basically going to be an alternate version of the thing that Denim gets. While Denim gets a regeneration ability, he gets the ability to remove stops. So, very oddly specific. This is pretty much never going to be coming up. Next up, we got back attack coming in from the archer. Accuracy is rarely a problem. I mean, I have people running around with no skills, and honestly, it doesn't even matter in that case, so not exactly great on that front. You've got your usual HP MP boost. You've got a pincer 2 instead of a pincer 4, so not exactly going to be much of a pincer support, but it is something he can do. Comes in with steadfast, comes in with double attack, which basically tells me that he's supposed to be built for taking advantage of weird weapon synergies. So anyway, you can also combine that in with a lobber if you'd like, but long story short, he's going to be running solo in this particular case, so we're not going to put that on him. Now, what I would like to introduce today is essentially a variant of what I like to call the T-Rex combo from the One Vision mod, and while there are no breach weapons and these two weapons essentially oppose each other, interestingly enough, this actually kinda sorta works, so let's go ahead and kinda get into why here. The original T-Rex combo idea was fairly simple. The axes in One Vision breach, while the claws would end up poisoning. So in this particular case, we've taken a little bit of a different spin on that. Namely, we have Heart Crusher that is going to be scaling particularly well. He specializes in dexterity, so he's going to be getting decent damage off that anyway. But essentially, we have a Boreas, which is going to be coming in with the double attack there, essentially, ideally causing air averse and poison within one round of attacks. So that's pretty solid. So essentially, this means that he can potentially kind of 3-round, or not even 3-round, but essentially just 2-round everybody, because he would essentially be coming in, doing the double attack, and then would be following up with a potential Heart Crusher, because it is a fairly cheap finisher, and he's going to be building up a lot of MP from that initial attack. Additionally, he's running luck equipment, as well as a lot of dex boosting equipment to hopefully help improve his odds of actually hitting stuff. Now, in this particular case, it's just a show-off fight. He's dramatically over-leveled for this particular fight. But just to give you an idea of how it all kind of comes together here, because interestingly enough, this does give him some interesting synergies here when it comes to exploiting weaknesses. Now, basically, this gives him options for dealing with air units with Ice Prison, gives options for dealing with lightning units through Infinity, as well as Heart Crusher giving options for dealing with Earth. So obviously, in some cases, because of the fact that he's under-leveled, or that he's over-leveled at the moment, he can kind of take advantage of a lot of situations like this. For tankier enemies, he can just leave the poison ticking away and go do something else. Whereas, for example, versus everybody else, you know, he's potentially got another option to work with. Now, is this obviously going to be completely broken? No, but it is just a fun little combination. Generally speaking, I've found him pretty handy as, you know, the finisher exploit guy. So as far as exploiting those in weird combinations, that's, you know, it's just a fun thing that he can do. It is a little bit of a bummer that he doesn't have more to work with. Again, just kind of file that under that pile of, you know, stuff that I think will probably be there for the modders when that day comes. I mean, specifically when it comes to back attack, accuracy is so much of a non-issue this particular time around that I'm pretty sure back attack was simply left in for modders to have something to do. But a fun thing, by the way, if you collect crit cards and things and build him for luck, the knockback will never trigger on your first attack, meaning that you can pretty much always wind up with a very high chance to poison. The reason that the Dragon Fang was used for this is because I feel like its chances to actually proc poison are somewhere in the 80% ballpark. All weapons just have a chance to do it. Additionally, he's running alluring boots just to hopefully improve that luck a bit further. Anyway, so that being said, this is all well and good, but let's go ahead and show what this ends up looking like if we end up coming back and we allow him to actually be at the proper level here, because this is realistically not much of a fair fight. He's like outstatting these guys to a point of absolute ridiculousness. And for the sake of context, I've just gotten Vyce comparatively recently. I haven't really done very much with him. Mostly I got him for the purpose of, you know, a Coda 4 shenanigans. So he's not exactly trained up with anything fancy at this point. Did I seriously just relaunch this fight in the exact same way? Great job, genius. That's some nice professional content right there. Let's go ahead and redo that. This time we turned on fair mode. Let's go ahead and do this thing. I love how contentious the whole like level cap thing has been, even though it's way less or way more freeform than it was last time around. Like you can break stuff so much harder than you could in the PSP version. You just can't do it on accident. Man, people have been finding some hilarious stuff that you can do with the Ogre blade and whatnot. It's absolutely great. Alright, so there we go. So, as far as weaknesses that Vyce has, part of the reason for his selection of odd equipment here has been to try to cover those weaknesses as well as much as would reasonably be possible. You may notice he's, you know, pretty okay on the tankiness department. Generally speaking, his big weakness has always been that his resistance does not exist. It is a total myth. Like, compared with everything else, his int, mind, and res are just like 50 points below everything. I guess in this case it's like 30, but still, point being, he's not a magic guy. So, in this case, he's going to be running a little bit of a scaling defense. So in any case where you have somebody with really low resistance, you can mitigate a lot of the incoming kind of threat to them with just something like a circlet. Not only does it boost their usual brain stats there, but the 8% resistance that it gives is going to be pretty major, especially when it comes to avoiding a lot of finishers and things like that. So right off the bat, any incoming elemental damage, he will just shave 13% of that away, just right off the bat, which is going to be a pretty big difference if he's got a weakness coming up. Anyway, so as you saw earlier, he was doing about 200 versus this guy that technically resists this whole situation earlier. But the Arrowverse ends up boosting his magic with that, or not his magic, boosts his damage with the finisher a little bit. Now, this is going to matter a lot more in cases like, for example, an Earth enemy, where he's basically still going to be able to get pretty close to one-shotting these guys. But this does give him a lot of useful finishers to work with. So, for example, this guy is able to threaten us damage-wise, so he can go ahead and just inflict a stop on this guy and walk away. Because of the fact that he's going to be double attacking, he is essentially going to be functioning as a finisher spammer. So, potentially, if you pick up any MP cards with something like this, it'll be very useful for him. Probably a decent bit more so than even Fizz cards, even though that is his primary mode of attack and all of that. But still, he's going to be building up MP pretty quickly through all those attacks. He's going to be doing DPS when he's not even available through that Dragon Fang. So, for example, that Golem is, for all intents and purposes, a non-issue for the time being. It may eventually end up catching up at some point, but realistically, at least half that health bar's gone. He's going to be within one-hit kill range at some point. This is why I really, really like using poison builds in this game, because, frankly, you can just cause a problem, walk away, and have the problem solved. So, you know, he's essentially attacking while not attacking. So now we're on low health, so we're going to want to get into a bit of a better position, assuming that we still survive this round. Because, unfortunately, one of the downsides of a double attack build is the fact that, well, they're not exactly fast. So, we'll go ahead and take our heal up here. That's definitely something to consider, is that you really have to kind of get into good positions with this guy. To try to mitigate a lot of the damage that ends up coming his way. But as you can see, something as simple as the circlet is enough to at least keep him fighting, so there's that. Now, poison-wise, I would assume it's probably going to run out right before that Golem ends up getting finished off, so we might end up just wanting to take a dagger swing with him. It's definitely worth considering, which, by the way, something I have tested a little bit, and I'm pretty confident on at this point. I believe the parry rolls do actually function independent of each other, so Anyway, let's see. Can we finish off this guy if we take an axe swing? Yes. Otherwise, we would just take the dagger swing, take the poison, and then proceed to a safer position. So we want to try and block line of sight, which, yes, by this point you should be running flight on everybody, but we're just going to go ahead and move him up here to give him a better chance. He's got one more full heal in his pocket there. But we want to try and deal with some of these units out there as much as possible. Again, it goes back to the same old thing of if we were playing one vision, we'd be able to do the long-range infinity in this case. But instead, we're going to go for something like this. Now, his magic stats do not exist, so he's going to have, no odds whatsoever to land anything like that. But potentially, we might have some options against some of this other stuff. So he's going to be able to pretty efficiently one-shot anything here, but the problem is it's going to take a second turn to come back and make that stick. So realistically, one thing to potentially consider is pretty much any kind of regenerative option. So if you are, for example, running this kind of build and you have somebody with like Gift of Renewal or whatever else, it ends up working pretty well for him. Just again, bear in mind, if you're going for a heavy weapon like an axe and a light weapon like a dagger, use the light weapon to finish stuff off as much as possible. Technically speaking, you could also just forget the whole air reverse thing and just go straight for an Earth Hog and double daggers. Realistically, that works just fine too, but, for the sake of fun, that's why we're doing this. Anyway, as far as other finisher options go, Manta Strike is going to get pretty close to finishing this guy. Infinity scales particularly well. That's actually why I originally wanted to go for something like this. Because, just if you have something that is a lightning element, that is going to completely annihilate it. But anyway, we can't quite seem to finish this guy off at the moment because we don't have anything to exploit his weaknesses. So instead, we are probably just going to go for a cast and a run. Now, his magic stats are functionally non-existent, but this will be enough to put him into one-shot kill range. So we move over here, hopefully mitigate the damage of all those incoming mages and things, so that they end up sitting over there. Melee guy comes in close. We end up finishing him with a finisher, and then we can go ahead and do this whole getting some progress done situation. All right, so. Oh, that's a bit of a problem. Anyway, we're probably about to get annihilated by crits, but at any rate, we can at least try and make some progress. Realistically, you probably want to bring more healing items if you're going for something like this. So, let's see. Probably Manta Strike is going to be a little bit faster. It's just slightly not enough, though. Like, very, very slightly not enough. That's a bit of a bummer, ain't it? Oh, well. Let's go see how our doubles are looking. Might as well just go for them. Oh, nice. We got the crit. So those doubles are going to cause us to be dramatically slower, but hey, at least that guy's gone, right? So this isn't exactly the best example in the world, but you get the general idea. It's a fun little combo to work with for him. Probably not really much of a solo guy, as you can tell. But still, it's enough to do a reasonable dent into a party all by himself. If you have something like Gift of Renewal, or you have a long-range cleric, that'll do the job just fine. And yeah, that's really about it. So, you guys have a good one. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.